I'm Christine, this is Namaste at Home Yoga. Today's focus is on Sun Salutations or Namaskar, Surya Namaskar. Surya being sun, Namaskar being salutations. Within those Sun Salutations, yes, you're meant to be doing them ideally in the morning. It's a way of opening up and waking up the body to salute the sun. You can do them at any stage in a practice. It's really nice to pop this as a flow into any of your practices. Now, when I first started yoga, I thought there was only one Sun Salutation. There's not, there's multiple versions, A, B, and C. Today we'll cover all three. And I think it's important that we cover off Sun Salutations. We put a real focus on making sure that we understand the flow and what we should be looking for in those adjustments in the positions or the asanas. Within that, each one of them is slightly different, and some of them go quite deep into the hip flexors. Others you'll find will be working through the lower back. So with all of these though, you'll get into what's called the Chaturanga, or like what feels like a yogi push-up that moves into a cobra or an up dog. In those positions, as always, dialing a position up or dialing a position down, check your ego. Make sure at no stage in the practice are you dumping into your lower back or moving into positions where you think, oh, this doesn't feel good. Pop your knees down. Please pop your knees down in any of the Chaturanga positions, so lowering down into that push-up when you're coming out of plank. I'll call it out throughout the class, but just make sure that you pop your knees down and you'll be able to practice throughout the entirety of today. And then obviously no injuries, you'll be able to practice on throughout the rest of the week. So what I would say, once you've checked your ego, we've talked about some salutations, it is something you'll find in most public classes. And because it is a flow, it's often done at pace, and that can often be a bit off-putting. You're not sure where you are, you're stepping back with what leg, we're jumping, hopping, what's happening. It can be quite off-putting, particularly if you're new to yoga. It can be that stage in the class where you just think yoga's not for me, I have no idea what's going on, I didn't feel anything, it didn't work. So let's place the focus on it today. What I would say lastly is that it's quite a tough class on the wrists. We do spend quite a bit of time on our wrists. So just to focus as we start to warm up the body, today we're going to start with our wrists. What I ask is that you just do circles. So we're just doing circles with our wrists, rolling them one direction with our wrist warm-ups. What I'd say is because it's a very small area of the body, you need to make sure that you warm them up. Reverse those circles to the other side. They are going to be an area that carries a lot of weight when you start with yoga. Now I just ask you to bend your fingers slightly back. So fingers coming towards, using the other hand to just pull back onto your fingers. We'll hold that for a couple of breaths, just warming up through the wrists. And with the same hand, we're going to pull our fingers back towards, almost like aiming them towards our elbows, pushing through, warming up there. If you find at any stage your wrists do become quite sore through the class, maybe it's one that you put forward for another session, putting your knees down will actually take a lot of strain off the wrists as well. Let's swap to the other side, just pulling our fingers back towards the face. Hold that for a couple of breaths. If you do find that your wrists are quite moany, they do tell you throughout class that they're a bit sore, make sure you put a focus on just before my classes, just to give them a little warm up. Alright, we'll bend those fingers down. It looks like that from that side. Just bending them down, warming up through the wrist. Holding that for 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. Okay, we'll let those go. So it should feel nice and warmed up. A bit of movement and mobility throughout the wrists. As usual, we'll start working our way down the body, just to warm up through the neck, through the torso, and then we'll jump on, well, I'll jump onto the mat, you're probably already there. So with your neck, one nice easy one, either putting your hands into your lap here, so you're really lengthening through the lower body, or hands onto your knees. We're going to take our right ear to right shoulder, leaning across. You might want to put your left hand towards the mat, maybe a little pressure on the top of the head, just pulling ever so slightly. Just ensuring this posture that you're not leaning forward, you haven't concaved through the midline, sitting nice and tall, right ear to right shoulder. You should feel a really nice stretch down the left hand side of the neck. Hold it for 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. And as you inhale, bring the head back to neutral. And we're taking left ear to left shoulder. Again, releasing the right hand to the mat. And you may want to place just a tiny bit of pressure into the top of the head. just to extend further into that stretch. Again, you'll feel it through the right hand side of your neck, sitting nice and tall, lengthening through the midline. Holding that for 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. And as you next inhale, bringing the head back to neutral spine, we're going to do some neck rolls. So again, hands either into the lap of the body or onto your knees. As you exhale, chin to chest, empty the lungs. We're going to go left ear, left shoulder, rolling through. As you're coming up and looking back, feel the lungs. And start to exhale as you come through, right ear, right shoulder, rolling through. Exhale completely, chin to chest. Start to inhale again, left ear, left shoulder, rolling through, looking up, looking back, feel the lungs. Start to exhale, right ear, right shoulder. And exhale completely, chin to chest, reverse the circle. Coming back, right ear, right shoulder. Looking up, looking back, feel the lungs. Start to exhale, left ear, left shoulder. Rolling through, chin to chest, exhale completely. Starting to inhale again, left ear, left shoulder. Looking up, looking back, feel the lungs completely. Exhaling, right ear, right shoulder. Full exhale, chin to chest, stopping there. And then as you inhale again, coming up to neutral spine. From here, we're just going to open up through the torso and through the chest and shoulders. So we're going to put our hands behind us. Some people like to make a bind in this position, so feel free to do that if so. Otherwise, you might want to just place your hands onto the yoga mat behind you. Pinky fingers are coming together. From here, rolling the shoulders back, up and down, so your shoulder blades are coming together. We're pushing our heart forward and up, and then releasing the head back. Feel a nice pinch between the shoulder blades, opening up through the chest, making sure that the shoulders are nowhere near the ears. They've come down the body. Holding here for 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. Remember to push through that heart chakra, through the center of the body. 1 last breath. And as you inhale, head comes back to neutral spine, releasing the hands back forward. Placing the left hand onto your right knee. We're going to place our right hand behind us. Nice spinal twist. So we're going to sit tall, then pivoting around, look over. That right shoulder, gazing past. Remember your posture here. Make sure you're sitting tall. Just a nice spinal twist here. We'll hold this for 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. 1 last breath, and as you inhale, the head comes first, and then your hands follow. We swap to the other side. Right hand comes to left knee. Left hand is going to dial behind us towards our sit bones. And we're going to sit tall and gaze past our left shoulder. It's important to make sure your posture is nice and tall here. You've really lengthened through that lower part of the torso. Remember, it's a gentle spinal twist at this stage of the practice. We're just warming up through the body. We'll hold this for 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. 1 last long breath. And then the head comes forward. And then our hands follow. Excellent. We're going to jump back onto the yoga mat. Well, I am. You're probably already there. We're going to come into our tabletop position, so hands and knees. In this one, we want to make sure that our fingers are spread nice and wide, that our wrists are stacked under our elbows, which are under our shoulders, so 1 nice line underneath that. Then check with your knee alignment that your knees are stacked under your hip points. So just have a quick check there to make sure that feels comfortable, that you haven't got them too far back or too far forward, so it feels a little bit cramped. We've obviously exaggerated there just to stress a point. You want to make sure that's nice and comfortable. From here, we're going to do some cat-cows. So nice, again, warming up through the spine of the body. As you inhale, lower your belly, tailbone goes up. Look up, open through the chest. And then as you exhale, we're going to roll through, pulling that belly button into the spine, looking through to our belly button, really extending through the shoulder girdle, pushing the mat away. And then as you inhale, belly comes down, looking up, tailbones pushing up, really extend hard. And then as you exhale, emptying the lungs, looking through to our belly button, really pushing through that shoulder girdle nice and round. And one more. As you inhale, stomach comes down, tailbone pushes up. Last one. As you exhale, rolling through, really pull that stomach into the spine of the body. And then as you inhale, come back to neutral spine. Neutral spine in this position should feel that you've got one nice line that goes from the crown of the head all the way down the spine, coming out through the sacrum there. With this one as well, just a point that I will stress throughout your Sun Salutations is that your wrists and alignment of your wrists is really key. So it should feel that you've rocked forward and that there is that solid bone-on-bone connection here. So I'll say that throughout your Chaturangas as well, to roll forward with your weight. One thing to focus while we're in this position. Now just to warm up through the abs, we're going to do some tabletop hovers. It's a personal favourite of mine at the moment. So you're going to pull that stomach in, that lower belly or that belly button will pull into the spine, scoop the belly in. We're going to push the mat away and then hover the knees off the mat. So picking them up. Now remember, the higher you lift them, the less work you've got. So just hovering just a tiny bit off the mat. Scoop that lower belly in. Check that you haven't rounded through the shoulder girdle. Keep your shoulders nice and flat. We're here for 5, 4, you may feel a little shake, you've got this. 3, 2, and on the 1, lower very slowly down. We're dumping back in. Maybe sit back into your sit bones here. So we're going to come into our child's pose. Extended arms, releasing the head towards the mat. This is the position at any stage throughout our Sun Salutations. You can come into child's pose. You can have your hands out in front, or you can dial your hands back towards the toes. If you find that mobility is a bit against you and your head doesn't come to the mat, bring the earth to you, stack your hands on top of each other so you can bring them to rest the forehead down. This one here is your resting recovery pose. Although it seems rather easy, it still is definitely stretching through your body, through your back. So don't feel like if you take this one that you've stopped practicing. You definitely haven't. Okay, coming up with the nose, carving a line forward. We lift up the head. Pressure comes back into the hands. We're going to curl our toes under, pushing back into our downward facing dog. So this down dog is the first one of the practice. As you lift the hips up and back, let's check our form. So in this one, because it's your down dog, it's your first one of the practice, we want to make sure it's the ugly one. Let's work out all of the stresses and strains in the body. From here, check that your feet are hip distance apart. Maybe roll back and forwards onto the toes and hands. We're going to warm up those wrists even further. Bend the knees quite generously. There's no need to keep straight legs at this stage. You could bring the chest back towards the knees. You might roll through all the way up into your hands, back onto your toes. You might step the feet further back, just checking that, and pedaling the feet feels really nice for your first downward dog of the practice. And with your pedaling, we're not trying to win an Olympic medal here on a bike. Just pedal it slowly so you feel the full extension of your legs. Rolling through. With our down dog, we want to make sure that our hands are spread wide, that our middle finger is pointing directly forward, so that we haven't got our hands spiraled in any odd directions. Middle finger is pointing forward onto the mat. As we tip backwards, we're pushing our chest towards the floor, releasing any tension in the neck. So we shake your head yes in this position, shake the head no. Your eye line is between your feet. As we push our chest towards the mat, our tailbone naturally rises up, pushing back through the tailbone there, and then our heels drive towards the mat. So this is our downward facing dog. Yes, it's an active resting position, and I remember when I first started it did not feel like resting. So from here we're going to walk our feet towards our hands to come into a forward fold. Tiny little baby steps, no need to rush in this one. Maybe come up onto your extended fingers in this, just tiny baby steps forward, no need to rush. When you come to the top of your mat, dealer's choice here, yogi's choice, feet can be hip distance apart or completely together. I want you to bend your knees quite generously. It's our first forward fold of the practice, so you want to be nice and gentle to the body. You might want to bring the chest closer to the knees, releasing the hands to the mat, really driving that tailbone up and back, and our weight comes into the balls of our feet. This is our forward fold position. As you get further into your practice, you might extend your legs. The natural tendency is to tip back onto your heels. Avoid that one. Tip forward. Rock forward onto the balls of your feet with your weight. Make sure you're always tipping from your hips rather than rounding from your back to reach to the floor or to your feet. From this position, we're just going to grab our elbows. We're going to do a ragdoll just from side to side. Again, generously bent in the knees, rolling back side to side, releasing any of the tension in the body. Again, shake the head yes, shake the head no. Just get out any of that tension. Releasing the hands forward, let them just hang like a rag doll. We're going to slowly roll up, vertebrae by vertebrae. We're rolling up quite slowly here, no need to rush. So we roll up, vertebrae by vertebrae. The last thing to come up will be your head. And when we reach the top, just give yourself 3 shoulder rolls backwards, up and back, up and back. And then reverse the circle. 3 shoulder rolls forward, just releasing any of that tension in the body. We'll be all warmed up for our Sun Salutations. Great, okay. With your Sun Salutations, we're going to start with Sun Salutation A. It's probably the most common one you'll find in any of your public classes that you go to. So from here, bring both of your feet together. So big toes, arches, and your actual heels all together. We're going to come into Shavasana, which is your mountain pose. So from here, we spread our toes wide, draw energy up the front of our shins. We engage our thighs, engage our glutes, lengthen through the lower body, rolling the shoulders up and back down. We spread our fingers and engage those. We make sure that our chin is parallel with the floor and our chest is really proudly extended out. From this one, it's your Tadasana. So here, just take 2 breaths. We ground and prepare. 1 more breath. From here, we rise our hands up, spread them wide. Up they come like wings. We look up at our hands. They come together in a prayer. We exhale, bring them down in front of your chest, prayer position. From here, as you inhale, arms go up. Prayer again. And then keeping that prayer pose, we're folding down, forward fold. So the prayer hands go through the midline of the body as you start to fold forward. Tipping forward, make sure that you've got a flat back. Bend your knees as generously as you need here to keep your back nice and flat. Touching down towards the floor. Now we're going to rise up to what's called your halfway flat back position. So your hands will trace up your shins, coming up into a flat back. Now flat back will feel that across your entirety of your back, your shoulders roll back, your shoulders come away from the ears. You should feel this nice extension through the lower back, coming all the way up through to the top of your head. Nice flat back position. Now here, there is absolutely no rules. You can be anywhere that feels flat for you. Flat back may be that your hands are still on the floor. From here, we forward fold again, so lowering down, hands touch towards the floor. From here, we step, jump, or float. Now for beginners, I think it's best we just step back with our right, then step back with our left. We've come into our plank position. Remembering with plank, the same as we had in any position, your middle fingers will be facing the front of the mat. We've checked that we've got our bone on bone on bone, our wrists, under our elbows, under our shoulders. If you're new to yoga, you get a lot of wrist pain, please release your knees towards the mat. If not, in this position, scoop that lower belly in, squeeze those glutes together. We're going to lower down halfway, so elbows scoop in towards the sides of your body, lowering halfway. Release the toes, pushing up into our up dog. So from here in your up dog, I never want to see anyone release their hips towards the floor. Shoulders should never be towards the ears. You stay nice and active. Glutes are massively engaged, opening up through the chest. We then roll our toes under again, pushing back into our downward facing dog. Step the feet maybe a little bit forward, open out through the legs into our downward facing dog. In this position, we just stay here for 2 to 3 breaths, really benefiting from the downward facing dog. Check your form, fingers are spread nice and wide, no tension in the neck. I'm looking back between my feet. Chest is pushing towards the floor, tailbones rising, and my heels are coming towards the mat. From here, we step forward back with our right. We're going to step forward with our right, stepping forward with our right, and again with our left. Feet can either be together or hip distance apart, yogi's choice. We're in our forward fold. Remember to keep your knees as bent as you need to make sure that you're tipping from your hips. We're going to come back up into that flat back position. So hands trace up through the shins, coming up into your flat back. Shoulders come back and down, shoulder blades are snuggling in towards each other, really extending that spine, keeping that width through the spine. Then we extend down, again, forward fold. We're going to root to rise from here, so spread the toes nice and wide, slight bend in the knees. The hands come out like wings, opening up all the way to the top. Hands come together at prayer. Then as you exhale, hands come to chest. That's your Sun Salutation A. We're going to practice this one again, going through the flow, but we're going to step back with our left leg. Now if you're floating or jumping back, we're just going to practice again. So from here, inhale, exhale, inhale, arms come up, looking up, making that prayer, namaste symbol. Hands come down, we're going to dial the hands through the midline of the body, following them down now, forward fold, tipping forward, chin comes out, nice flat back. Forward fold, you never need to rush in that one. Releasing the hands to the mat, remember, bend those knees as generously as you need. From here, we come up into our flat back position, so hands trace up the shins, flat back position, pulling those shoulder blades back, snuggling them together, ensuring you've got extension through the spine, neck's nice and long. Then we extend down, hands trace down the shins, back towards the mat, bending the knees as generously as you need, make connection with the mat, step, float or jump. We're going to step back for our beginners until the left foot comes back, release the hands towards the mat, right foot comes back. We're in our plank position. In here again, if you need to, place those knees down. If not, make sure that our hands are nice and wide for everybody. Shoulders are over our wrists. In this one, I'm going to ensure that you tip forward onto your toes. So for those having a look at the video at the moment, just rock forward onto the absolute tips of your toes before we extend down. Lowering down halfway. Come onto the tops of your feet, pushing up, up dog. Remember here, we want open through the chest, really engaged glutes. Our thighs haven't just sunk onto the floor. Rolling the toes under, pushing back into our downward facing dog. Step your feet forward. Come into checking all of your position here. Hands are nice and wide. Looking back between our feet. Chest is coming towards the floor. Tailbone pushes up. Heels coming towards the floor and the mat. From here we step forward with our left. For those that are jumping or hopping, crack on. Left foot forward. Right foot forward. We're back in that forward fold position. Our weight is in the balls of our feet, not sinking back. Release any tension that's in the neck. We're going to come up into that flat back position, so hands trace up the front of your shins. Coming up to the flat back, make sure that you've really snuggled your shoulder blades back. You feel that extension through the spine. Hands trace back down, we're coming back into our forward fold. We're going to spread our toes wide, bending the knees just slightly, root to rise, hands come out wide, all the way up, looking at your extended hands, and then as you exhale, hands come to prayer. That's Sun Salutation A. Doing really well. Let's go through B. B's a little bit more fun, a little bit more tricky, but we don't have two variations to it, so it's quite nice. Take another inhale here, and an exhale. From here, hands come up, into prayer, then again through the midline of the body. We've come down to the mat. We're going to trace up to that flat back position. And down. We're going to step back with our right, then with our left. We're in our plank position. We're going to do our Chaturanga, our yogi's push up. I'm going to do this on my knees to show everyone what that looks like. From here, lowering down, make sure those elbows just trace past the ribs, pushing up into our up dog Chaturanga. Pushing back into our downward facing dog. In our down dog, this is where it changes. So from here, we're going to pick up our right foot, weight comes into the left, right foot comes up, three-legged dog, stepping it forward and through into our low crescent lunge. Check here that you've got a 90-degree angle. From here, make sure you pull everything into the midline of the body, engage the glutes, hands come up. We're coming into our warrior one, so your back foot is a 45-degree angle. Hands come up, sinking into that front extended knee. So because you've got your foot slightly tucked in, it'll feel like your hips kind of want to face the opposite. Bring the hips round, hands come up, sink into the front knee. Warrior one. We're going to dial the hands back down, framing the foot. Pivot on that back foot, stepping back with our right. We're going to do it again with that Chaturanga. So you, in your plank position now, we've checked our form. We're going to tip forward onto the tops of our toes. We've tipped forward, lowering down halfway. Come onto the tops of the feet, pushing up, cobra. Make sure you're not dumping into that lower back, engage the glutes. Roll back onto the tops of your toes, pushing back, downward facing dog. We do it again on the other side. From here, we're picking up our left, stepping it through, checking here, make sure you've got a nice 90-degree angle. We're in our low crescent lunge. We're going to pull everything into the midline of the body, engage the glutes, hands come off the mat. Back heel comes down, snuggling it into a 45. We're in warrior one. Hips are facing towards the front or the short edge of the mat. Open up through the chest. From here, hands come back down, framing the foot. Pivot on the back foot. Bringing your left foot back to meet right. Last Chaturanga for your Sun Salutation here. Again, lowering down just halfway. Come onto the tops of the feet, pushing the mat away into your up dog. Coming back onto your toes, rolling through downward facing dog. From here you can step or jump to the top of the mat. I'm going to step forward with my right and again with my left. Yogi's choice here, feet together or hip distance apart. We're back into our forward fold. We're going to come into our flat back position, so your hands trace up the front of your shins. Wait till you feel that nice flat back position. We've got that extension through the spine, leading from the neck. As we exhale, we trace back those hands down into our forward fold, completely empty our lungs. We're going to spread our toes, slight bend through the knees, root to rise, hands come out like wings, all the way to the top. Hands in prayer above your head, and as you exhale, bring them down. Namaste position. Prayer at your chest. Take an inhale here. And an exhale. One more. Inhale here. And exhale. So that's your Sun Salutation B. I like it because you've got that warrior one that's in the middle. I think that's quite nice. You don't actually have to repeat it on both sides because you're doing it in the middle of the flow. Okay, last one, Sun Salutation C, and this is the one I was trained on at my ashram. What we were told is 108 versions of this, and I'll tell you when we've done one full loop. 108 of them in perfect form makes you the perfect yogi. Let's leave that to the yogis. All right, bringing our feet together, heels together. We're in our Tandasana, nice proud position here, really drawing up through the body, lengthening through the midpoint. We're going to inhale, arms come up, prayer position above your head. Exhale, hands to mid-center in prayer. Inhale here. Exhale. Inhale, arms up. Slight back bend from the upper back. Slight back bend. And then as you exhale, diving forward, chin out, make sure your back's nice and flat. Diving forward, bend the knees as generously as you need to here to ensure you're tipping from the hips. Bend the knees as much as you need, make connection with the mat, stepping back with the right. Placing the back knee down. Hands are in line with your toes. Fingers are in line with your toes. Make sure you've got a nice 90-degree angle there. You're going to look up and open through the chest, and as you do so, pushing that hip, that right hip towards the mat. You feel a really nice stretch through your hip flexors. From here, we're going to pick up that back knee, stepping the left leg back to meet the right. We're in our plank position. As always, make sure that your middle fingers are facing the front of the mat. You're going to tip forward onto the tops of your toes, just very slight tip forward, lowering down, knees, chest, chin will come to the mat. In this position, you're going to find, you might want to look at the video here, I haven't completely sunk my entire body flat to the mat. You have your hips still facing up. This is your traditional Sun Salutation C. From here, you're going to lift the chest, sliding it forward into your cobra. Release the toes down, pushing up, engaging the glutes to really drive up into your low cobra here. So just to your belly button, make sure the shoulders haven't snuck up near your ears. Keeping them low. Exhale, lowering down. Tuck the toes under. We're going to push back into our downward facing dog. Pushing up, rolling back, downward facing dog. Again, just check your form, looking back between the toes. No tension in the neck. Head is nice and loose. Chest is pushing towards the mat. Tailbone up. Heels driving towards the floor. Now we step back with our right, which means we step forward with our left. Stepping forward with the left. Checking that you've got a 90-degree angle at the front here. You're in your low lunge, so that knee comes down. We're going to look up, open through the chest. And then we're going to pick up that back knee. Right comes to meet left, forward fold. Again, yogi's choice, feet together, hip distance apart. Really making sure you're tipping from the hips, extending down. Root to rise, spread the toes nice and wide. Little bend in the knees, arms come up, nice and wide. Prayer position above your head, slight back bend from the upper back, then diving that back forward, down into our forward fold again. Folding it down, knees can bend as generously as possible. We're going to step back with our left this time. Left foot comes back, knee comes down. Check that you've got a nice 90-degree angle. Fingertips are in line with our toes. Look up, open through the chest. Then we're going to pick up that back knee up, stepping our right foot back to meet our left in plank. We're now in our plank position. Just check, have my hand snuck too far forward and I'm no longer stacking bone on bone on bone. From here, we want to tip forward just that tiny bit onto our toes. Remember, at any stage in this position, you can pull your knees down. Tipping forward onto our toes, we're going to lower down, elbows come really close. Scooching past the side body, knees, chest, chin, all at the same time. Remembering that we're not lowering down onto our completely flat belly. Our tailbone is still stuck up in the air in this one. Then we're going to push forward into our cobra, our low cobra. So chest comes up, rolls forward, hips come down, engage the glutes, coming up to our belly button here. If you want to check, maybe take your hands off the mat, make sure you're not dumping into your hands, rolling down, tuck the toes under, pushing up away from the mat, rolling through downward facing dog. From here, last check of our form, hands are nice and wide, chest pushing towards the floor, tailbone driving up, heels towards our mat, and we're looking between our feet, no tension in our neck. Now we step back with our left, so we're going to step forward with our left again, left foot forward. Right knee comes down, looking up, open through the chest. And right comes to meet left, into our forward fold. From here we're going to root to rise, spreading out our toes nice and wide. Hands come out and up, bend through the knees, looking up, fill the lungs, slight back bend of the upper back, and then exhale, hands to prayer at your chest. Inhale here, exhale long, regain the breath, inhale, exhale long. Great, that's your Sun Salutation C. So now you've done all three, it's just a matter of getting more and more comfortable with the flow, because these will be done a lot faster in a public class. Okay, let's come down to the mat, slight stretching, a little bit of Shavasana, and we're all set to go. From here, bring your hands up to the sky, come up onto your tippy toes, really long, big stretch. Come down into your full flat feet, diving forward, forward fold. We're going to step back, right leg comes back, left leg comes back. We're going to come into our tabletop position, knees come down. We're going to cross our ankles behind us, sink the feet back, rolling through, legs come out in front. Just a really tricky way of getting you back onto the mat. If you missed that, join me here. Okay, from this position, slight bit of abs, you know I love this position. We're in Tandasana, our staff pose. Take the fleshy parts of the glutes out so you're sitting on your sit bones. Toes come towards the face. Scoop that lower belly in. Arms like train tracks in front of you. We're going to roll back for 10. If this is too much and that Sun Salutation was killing you, I'll meet you back on the mat. For the rest of us, let's go. Scoop the belly in. Rolling back for 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Make sure that the shoulders aren't near the face. 4, 3, make sure the toes are pointed to the face. 2, should feel the shake. 1, and release all the way down to the mat. Arms come above the head, really long extension through the body, full body stretch, point the toes. That should feel really nice. Now bring the right leg and the left leg in towards the chest. We're going to hug them in towards the body, just roll back and forth. Nice lower back massage, the lumbar spine. Rolling back and forth, you may want to do some small circles with the knees. One direction, and roll them back the other direction. Nice massage for the lower spine there. In this position, we're going to come into our happy baby pose. So from here, we're going to bring our hands in the inside of our legs up into the arches of our feet. Now if that feels too much, you can also use your peace fingers to just grab the big toes. That's often really nice as well. The idea being that we're driving our feet, our heels towards the ceiling, pulling our legs down so our knees come into our armpit chest region. From this position you can roll back and forth if that feels nice. Just remember that your heels are driving up, we're pulling down. Should feel like a counterbalance force here. Your knees are coming towards the armpit chest. You might see happy babies in this position. You'll see them in a buggy or a pram. They roll back and forth. It feels really nice. It's a nice reflex for the body to sort of roll back and forth in this position. We'll hold this for 3 more breaths. 2 more breaths. And on the 1, bring the knees back in towards the chest. 1 big hug towards the knees, come towards the nose. Maybe make a nice little connection. Just a nice roll back and forth here. Last, roll through and then extend the legs long. We're going to come into Shavasana here. So your relaxation part of the class. Let the legs just splay open so your feet will just open to the edges of your mat. Hands come out. Bring them a bit further away from the mat so your palms are facing up. You want that your shoulder girdle, your shoulder blades, nice and connected with the mat. In this position, to take any tension off the lower back, just a very, very gentle tilt of the pelvis towards the face will actually help you in this one. And I say this in most of my classes, this is corpse pose, but by no means is it statue. So if you start to feel uncomfortable, you think your lower back's a little bit moany, mine often goes, feel free to give yourself one more, just really roll through the lower back and then rejoin us in Shavasana. If you find that your lower back is particularly moany in this class, mine often tells me so, just bring the knees as far as the distance of the mat and then let the knees roll in, your feet as wide as the mat, and let the knees roll into it, kiss each other in the middle, and then just make sure you're still doing that pelvis tilt towards your face. That will actually help. For me, I'm just going to come back, joining you with my feet just splayed open. If you haven't done so already, just closing the eyes. From here, we just want to place a focus onto our breath. Really long inhales through the nose. And big exhales through the mouth. And again, inhale through the nose. And as you exhale through the mouth, just feel the tension of the body release. One more, inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Now as you continue breathing normally, long inhales through the nose, long exhales through the nose. Try and make that ocean breathe sound, the oceanic breath that you might hear yogis refer to. So as you inhale through the nose, as you exhale through the nose, using the tongue to just press into the top of your mouth. It'll sound like this. It'll sound like a nice wave sound. As you focus on that, let's just check if there's any tension or tightness stored in the body. just place a light or attention onto your skin of your face, particularly through the forehead, and checking through the jaw. Is there any tension or tightness being stored there? As you inhale, breathe into these areas. And as you exhale, release that tension. Next, place a focus on your neck and onto your shoulders. As you inhale to that area, exhale, release any tension. Place a focus on your chest, on your upper back, mid back and the lower back. Just be curious of the mood of the body, if there's any tension or tightness being stored there. As you inhale, breathe into these areas. And as you exhale, release. Place a focus on your glutes, your pelvis and your thighs. Feel if there's any tension or tightness being stored there. Feel the connection to the mat. As you inhale, breathe into these areas. And as you exhale, melt that tension. Place a focus on your knees, on your shins and ankles. Be curious if you feel any tightness or pain in these areas. As you inhale, breathe into them. Send your breath there, and as you exhale, release. Lastly, place a focus on your feet, on your heels, arches, the balls of your feet and your toes. Be curious of the mood. If you feel any tension or tightness in your feet, as you inhale, send the breath there. And as you exhale, release. Take one more inhale. And send that breath through the entire body, releasing any tension or tightness as you exhale. One more inhale again. And as you exhale, release. Now bring your focus back to the room that you're lying in, to any sounds that you can hear. Bring your focus to your body lying on the yoga mat. Take an inhale and an exhale. We'll bring a tiny bit of movement back into the body, gently moving the fingers and the toes, just a tiny, tiny movement in both of your fingers and your toes. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, roll the right ear to right shoulder. As you inhale, come back into neutral spine. And then as you exhale, left ear to left shoulder. Keep wiggling your fingers and your toes. As you inhale, come back to neutral spine. You're going to bring the right knee into the chest, and then your left knee. Give them one last hug in towards the chest. Maybe roll back and forwards, little lumbar spine release. Then roll the knees towards your right hand side. Coming into that fetal position that we like to sleep in, releasing the left hand towards the mat. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, pushing up, weight into that left hand, push away from the yoga mat, coming into your seated cross-leg position. Keep the eyes closed if you're comfortable doing so. from here, just place the hands into your lap. Really extend through the lower part of the body, rolling the shoulders up, back and down. Shoulder blades are snuggling in towards each other. Chin is parallel with the floor. Take an inhale here. And exhale out. Bring your hands together at your heart center. Hands are in a prayer position at your heart center. Just bow the head ever so slightly forward. We're going to rub our palms together, just lightly, so you can feel that yogic energy, that heat that you can create. Once you've felt that nice warmth, we're going to place those palms over our closed eyes. Take an inhale here, and exhale out. Blink the eyes open, under your palms, become aware of the light. Take an inhale. And upon your exhale, rub those palms, that warmth over your scalp, down your neck, across your shoulders, down your lower back, over your thighs, down the front of your knees, down your shins, and over your feet. A big thank you to your body for allowing you to practice today, allowing you to practice Sun Salutation at full body flow. And you've learned all three, A, B and C. So anytime that you join a public class, or maybe you join in a flow that I would do in any of my classes, you'll feel a little bit more confident in what we're moving through into our next position. They'll give you that nice freedom in the form to sort of make sure that you're adjusting your positions rather than sort of being, oh, what are we in next? I hope you enjoyed that class. As always, practice, practice, practice. It'll give you more confidence within your Sun Salutations. As always, hands to prayer, your heart center, up to your third eye, bowing forward, namaste. Thank you very much, guys.